I took an oath, and I honored it. I kept my mouth shut for 25 fucking years. You got the balls to tell me that after everything I've been through, after everything I've lost, after everything I've done for this family, your family, fuck!
I'm giving you a whole entire fucking city!
You're giving me fucking banishment. Tulsa. Yeah, why not? It'd be nice to breathe some fresh air.
When I was a kid, I didn't quite imagine that I would see a film in which Sylvester Stallone plays a bad guy. Like many other people of my age, I grew up with his films. The Rocky movies, Rambo, Tango and Cash, that one was a good film. Cobra, and yeah, even that one bad film, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, were movies that I watched for I don't know how many times. Of course, let's not forget about the Expendables series, or at least the first two movies. Anyway, you get the point. Stallone was one of those actors that you couldn't see him as a bad guy no matter how hard you try. But as the meme says, I didn't know that I truly needed to see a film or a series with Stallone as a villain, as a complicated character. But after seeing a recent TV series that was quite a breath of fresh air, I quite like Stallone as a complicated, grey, more villainous character like a gangster or an old school vigilante or something. The TV series that made me to wanna watch more stories with him as a bad guy is a new TV series called Tulsa King, in which Stallone is an old gangster who is released from prison and his Mafia family is sending him to Tulsa for whatever reasons. Some may say to get rid of him or to give him a chance to a calm and peaceful retirement. Stallone's character, Dwight, is not quite fond of this decision, so he starts to create his own business in his own old-school gangster ways, while he tries to reconcile with his daughter and make connections with his family after a long time in prison. I have seen this pattern before in other series, video games or movies, so I took the series as a story for relaxation and to easily pass the time. However, I didn't expect for the series to be quite good, quite fun. I mean, yes, if you are familiar with different movies in which Sylvester Stallone played, you might know the way the story presents the comical parts, the action parts, the intrigue and the characters. Probably that's why I wanted to see this series. Seeing Stallone in the show, I had some ideas regarding how the series might be, and to my surprise, what I expected from the show and what the show presented was entirely the same thing. The way the series presents its story, it's quite natural, and I'm talking about the way he reveals the events of the story, because the series kinda presents from the beginning an idea of how the series might be. If you have seen a Stallone movie, you know how the story will go, and even if you know, it doesn't matter. You want to see it to get relaxed. The same thing happens with Tulsa King. It is a series in which you have a character that has a dark past, who has nothing to lose and who starts to get everything and to fight for it. The main character of the series, Dwight, I can see why the creators of the show wanted Stallone to star in it. Dwight is a type of character that definitely demands respect. It emanates power only through his presence. He is a gangster who is released from prison, and from the first moments of the series, you can sense that he is a tough guy. You see his reactions at the news he will go to Tulsa, you see how he will create his own organization, how he uses old school methods of intimidation and recruitment that are quite funny because they are used on the young generation and the methods are so efficient and quite ironic sometimes. From the first two episodes of the series, you might say that Dwight is quite a villainous guy, but as the series starts to develop, you realize how he truly is, how kind he is, how much importance it gives to his family. It is quite interesting because while you watch the series, the theme of family is the main element that will attract your attention. The theme is presented in so many ways that you can say it is antithetic. You see how Dwight's relationship with his daughter is developing, with small steps to a great outcome, while his relationship with his crime family starts to disintegrate, and quite fast. The theme of family is presented also to the characters that are connected to Dwight. You see how Manny's relationship with his family deteriorates thanks to Dwight, but he starts to make a strong connection with Dwight's team. You see how Tyson's relation with his dad is broken due to his decision to work with Dwight. You see other characters that might have an issue with their family or their life is ruined, like Stacy or the girl from the drugstore. The theme of family became such an important theme in every gangster story because it presents so many ideas like loyalty, love, devotion, a whole universe important for someone. And Tulsa King does present those ideas too. It might make you remember about films like The Godfather, or series like The Sopranos, or any other gangster movie, which is a good thing. Tulsa King is similar to some of those films, but is different at the same time. It is more casual, more action-oriented, and has some funny moments. It is built differently, and with this thing, it can stand on its own into your memory. What is important for the series, in my opinion, is Dwight's representation. I said that the theme of family is antithetic, that not only for Dwight but for other characters, one family is affected while the other family grows, but this antithesis is presented quite interesting in Dwight's characterization. He is a tough guy, a gangster, but he has a good heart. He wants to protect the ones he loves, the ones he cares for. But as his character is made, you can see that he made some decisions in his life that made him to be in trouble, that made him to lose something because of his judgment. I mean, the first decision that you as a viewer get to know is the one that put him in prison, that he tried to protect his crime family and he got to suffer for it. The second one might be at the end of the season, when he decides to give Stacy, his love interest, some money that came from eliminating a biker gangster, but money that Dwight felt she deserves because she suffered a lot thanks of those punks that Dwight took them out. That decision put him again behind bars, or so it is implied. I like this quite interesting and yet simple concept that might get you out of the way. The idea of balance is presented in a way that it definitely catches the viewer's interest. There are all those details regarding the characters, regarding judging them for the look or their actions, like the girl from the drugstore that is almost all the time stoned and absent, but she can shoot with a gun, or like Mitch, the guy who owns the country club, who you can see him as a calm, nice guy, but he has experience with bad people and bad situations. Honestly, all the context of the series, the characters, characterizations, and even the main theme of the series presents this feeling of balance. And thinking of it, the biggest sensation that came into my mind regarding the balance was the ending. And no, I'm not talking about the balance of Dwight being released from prison in episode 1 and being arrested in episode 9. No, not about that. I'm talking about the comparison, the balance between Dwight and Stacy. According to the story, Dwight was sent to prison to protect the family, thus doing a good thing for his job, his line of work. Stacy turned Dwight in to do the right thing in her job, even though apparently she regrets it. Maybe it is not a direct presentation of a balance because it sets more on Dwight, but I like to think that there is a small balance in Dwight and Stacy's relationship. I mean, while Dwight is rebuilding step by step not only his family but his business too, Stacy's life is broken, her job is a mess, she got romantically involved with an ex-convict, so overall, in a way, the balance is there, even it is made in the character's presentation and background story, but there is a thing that I cannot unsee once I found the idea. With this thing in mind, I think that the series is quite well made. It presented a very good method to create a story and present it in a very simple and clear way. This makes you appreciate the series even more, which in my books is a plus for remembering a good and interesting concept. The only thing that I disliked, but I understand why they did it like that, was the way they presented the villains. You have the main villains, who are Dwight's crime family, and the season villains, which are like side villains, who are the biker gang who tries to stop Dwight from evolving his business in Tulsa. To me, it looked like the biker gang was sidelined. It looked like it was just an episodic villain, even though their actions and influence impacted the story. As I said, I get why the creators of the show did this. They wanted to present that Dwight's former family is the bigger threat, the most important one, while the others are just obstacles in Dwight's story that will eventually be defeated. But I wanted them to be more balanced. I felt like one of the villains was more important than the other, a thing that overall it truly is. But for this part of the story though, I wanted to feel those threats equally. Probably this was intended to be like that because the story is from Dwight's point of view, and he might think that the biker gang is not a threat like his former crime family, but you know, I wanted the episodic villains to be more menacing, just a little bit. Maybe in the next season the future villains will be more dangerous, who knows? The Tulsa King series has a lot of elements and details that can catch almost any audience to watch the story. Do you want to watch the show for action and conflict? You have a lot of action, quite plenty of it. Do you want to watch the show for the intrigue? You can find out what is gonna happen with Dwight and his daughter. You can find out if Dwight and Stacy will get together, given the fact that he's a gangster and she's an ATF agent, so you have that type of impossible relationship. There are a lot of things. You can definitely say who is the main villain of the season and who is gonna be a future threat. But the thing that I quite find interesting to the series is the use of supernatural elements into the show. Well, sort of. There are actually two hints regarding supernatural things. The first one is in the second episode with the center of the universe, which can be hauled as unreal and yet real stuff, and the other element is the white horse that may look like death is coming. The use of the supernatural elements is used quite cleverly because it gives you the hint that it may be true, but after that is giving you the impression that is in Dwight's mind, even though somehow foresaw an event. And here I am talking about the white horse, who got away from a stable and presented the idea of someone who has a connection with the ranch will come to kill Dwight, that person being Manny. It is a nice touch to the story. Unfortunately, it is not used very often, but you kinda understand why. Still, the supernatural hints are made quite interesting because they blur the idea between real and imagination. Of course, they went with the idea that those elements are in Dwight's mind a bit, but as I said, I don't think that is a bad idea. Like that, it keeps the story realistic. The story goes more to the action side that it leaves behind the idea of the supernatural. In a way, if I think about it, the series is made in a way to have every element placed at the right place at the right time. It does not mix the concepts, which is a good thing, because like that, it presents everything clear to the audience. There are so many ideas that come into my mind when I think about Tulsa King, not just because it is so fresh into my mind or on the TV screen. There are things in the show that are quite nicely made, and somehow you can feel the influence from other shows. However, the show can stand on its own on so many levels, and I'm talking not only just about the story or the acting. No, I'm also talking about the cinematography of the series. From the first moments of the first episode, you can feel as a viewer that the show is made with passion to the story. The cinematography of the series is made quite well, giving this sensation of an old school action film, which is a good thing. It gives a certain rhythm, a certain face to the story. Now, I will not say that the cinematographic influence of the show can have anything to do with Sylvester Stallone, but sometimes you might feel that the series was thought by him due to the way the story is made and how he performs into the series. And even if it is like that, I do not mind at all. The series has its charm. It is filmed quite nice, quite classic, without too much handheld filmmaking. It is well made from the point of view of how it is edited. It has quite a nice soundtrack. It keeps you focused on the story. The action scenes are made quite well and are quite credible. The suspense is made in a way to believe it, to feel like something big is gonna happen. You have comedy moments that will cut the tension during action scenes or will give a more relaxed and smart aura of the show. It makes you totally care for Dwight and his purpose, even if he might be a bad guy. And it is the most important thing in my opinion. It didn't go too far with the concept of the gangster movie. They didn't make a parody of some elements, even though sometimes when that conflict between generations or between the gangsters might look like that. If you think of the series as a creator, you might say that, okay, the story is quite simple, you do not have too much to talk about regarding the show, but in its simplicity, in the way the show is, it is quite good. You really want to find out what might happen with Dwight. Yeah, the show makes you want to know that. The cinematography, the structure, the characters, everything is made quite well. And even if the series has just 9 episodes, it is structured pretty well that if you want to watch the entire series in a day, you can do that pretty easily. You do not get bored, it keeps you focused and will keep you interested in that plot twist at the end, making you want to find out what is gonna happen with Dwight and the others in the next season. Watching the series and after that thinking about it, I really started to appreciate Tulsa King for the way it was made and presented the story. It has a nice catch to it, it has a good story, the action is quite pretty good, everything presented is presented logically. I think the series deserves a chance. Probably many viewers will take the series just as I did, as a series that you can see casually and have fun with your friends while you watch the show, but after watching it, somehow you will remember it. Yes, it has the name power attached to it, because Sylvester Stallone stars in it, but let's face it, Stallone is just doing his job. I have read somewhere that Tulsa King might be his first role in a televised program, but this is unseeable due to his style of work and his experience. He presents the story in his own unique way, just like all the other actors from the show, presenting very interesting characters in an interesting way. You may probably remember the show just as that one Stallone series, but the important part is that you will remember it, and you might probably mention some interesting moments from the show when you will talk about it. Whatever the reason may be, once you see Tulsa King, it will be in your memory one way or another. It is a good series, it has potential to be a good story and to develop a concept further that it might be unique. For a first season, you have a lot of stuff to enjoy. I can't wait to see how the second season will be and how the story will develop. Until the next episodes arrive, I will keep rewatching some moments from the show and I will enjoy them, like it is the first time I am watching the series all over again.